a lot of people aren't always actively seeking new restaurants.
Yeah, when a new franchise comes in, it's like, oh, we're so lucky to have them and everything. And then so people just flock to it. Rather, as in somebody that opens up a restaurant that's been saving 3 years and opens up a restaurant, the first day they open, they don't have a line out the door, you know, and the mom and pop shop has to work like 10, 20 times as harder just to get that same attention.
Chef Alejandro, I'm going to butcher your last name.
Barrientos.
I love that.
Barrientos. It's fine. It's good.
Head chef, owner, Curbside Bistro,
Yes,
and started in Odessa, Texas. You've recently opened one in Midland.
But it started as a food truck, correct?
Yeah. Actually started before that. It started as a table, 6-foot folding table at a farmer's market.
Oh, okay.
And before that, I was selling barbecue pulled pork sandwiches out of my wife's truck, out of her Ford Focus. Yeah,
Just pop the trunk and boom.
So
pulled pork. Let's go.
I was still working and I was getting into barbecue and I was wanting to before I went actually into culinary school, I was doing barbecue and I love barbecue and that's what like really got me excited about it. And it wasn't until one of my friends came over to eat. He's like, "Hey, I'm having a baby shower. Can you cater it?" And I was like, "I've never catered. What do you mean a caterer? I have no permits, no anything." He goes, "Just make the food. I'll pay you for it." I was like, "Oh, okay, cool. Let's do it."
Homegrown.
And I was like, "Let's do it." And then some of his friends were there, and they all worked like at oil field companies. And like, "Dude, could you make us this for lunch?" He goes, "I'm craving it." And I was like, "Yeah, sure. Let me get some plate orders." And so I went to Sam's. Shout out to Sam's, their biggest supporter of like small local businesses because you know it's accessible to get industrial grade products and and whole. And so went to Sam's, bought a bag of chips, a bunch of pulled pork butts, bread, and then put it on my Facebook. And then me and my wife started trying to get as many people as we could for one day, and then we just sold pulled pork sandwiches out of the back of the car.
Wow.
Yeah.
I did want to ask, being a restaurateur, but can you tell us a little bit about your background, where you're from, leading up to going to culinary school? I'm curious, how you even got into a love of cooking.
Yeah, so I'm born and raised in Odessa, Texas.
Okay.
Southside Odessa, shout out. And so my mom, she was very had her mom and dad still in Mexico and very attached. So it would be summers or every time we had a break in school, it was me and my brother, my only brother. We would go to Mexico, summers, Christmas, and everything. And so even growing up, I didn't know it really snowed in Christmas because I'm in Mexico. It's 102 degrees, and I just saw it on TV shows and movies. I'm like, oh, that's fake, and that doesn't actually happen, because you wake up over there and it's blistering hot, know. And so, just growing up and having that exposure to different cultures that early on, and then going through high school, junior high, I went to OHS, got into the oil field like everybody else. You get into oil field, you get into some type of work, and it wasn't my passion, But I think a lot of people here coming out of high school, if you don't have anything to do, hey, okay, you can decide your career later, your passion later, but right now you need to go work and make money.
And it pays good. It pays very good.
It pays amazing. I mean, some people can right out of high school and get off and get a job and make over $100,000 in this area, and it's a huge blessing for this area. No other place. Some people with associate's degrees or bachelor's degrees can go and work and not even get that. And here, if you work hard and you have a good skill set and dedication, you can make a very, very good living, and a lot of people do. So
hard work though.
Yeah,
it's very hard work.
Yeah, no, I mean, people out here are tough. I always say West Texas tough. I mean, these guys are, they do not play around, and so that's where I got my hard work ethic from. And from not finishing until the job is done, do what by any means necessary. If you need to cut it with a torch, weld it with with a welder, move whatever you got to do, you get it done.
Yeah. And
then I was working in that field, but I was never really fully satisfied, my passion or anything. But so I started getting into cooking. A lot of times when you're out there, I don't know if you've seen some of these oil field rigs, they got huge barbecue pits, huge. So that's even ingrained in our cultures, like cooking out, smoking meats and everything else. And so I think that's what kind of lit the fire for my passion. And I started barbecuing and doing pulled pork butts and briskets and things like that. And this is before Food Network was huge, and allrecipes.com and all these,
Right.
you know, and everybody's like sharing recipes. So I didn't know you could make your own barbecue sauce. I didn't know you could make your own spices and rubs.
Okay.
And I started looking into that. It was my brother that told me, like, why don't you go to culinary school? You know, you should go to culinary school. You should be a chef if that's what you really like. And I didn't even know you could go to school to be a chef. Like, I never knew that's something you could, you know, like, hey, I'm going to be a chef. I thought you had to
Right.
be French or Italian. Or
Right.
something.
Like a cordon bleu or something.
Yeah. My nana showed me how to make this.
Right.
You know, like,
Right.
I never knew how to, I never knew that. So I went and applied at culinary school in Austin at Le Cordon Bleu. That's actually funny you said that. And then they gave me like a huge reality check. It was going to be like $100,000. The semesters were crazy.
Dang.
The knife hits. Yes, it was like I think $30,000 per semester. You had to put so many hours as an apprentice, and then go work at other restaurants, and it was just crazy. Yeah. And by that time, I was like living paycheck to paycheck, still at my mom's house, and I was like, "There's no way I can afford that."
Right.
So I came back, and then I looked at the community college, Odessa College Community College, and they had a culinary program that was like taking off, and I was like, "Oh man, that's awesome!" So at that time, I told my wife, "Look, I'm gonna quit my job. I'm gonna go back to school." I think I was 24, 23 when I went back to school. I'm like, I'm gonna try this for a year, see if, you know, if I feel like this is my calling, my passion. If not, give me a year. After that year, I'll go back and work wherever. You know, the oil field's always gonna be here. I can always find work. I'm a hard worker. And then as the first day of culinary class, I fell in love with it. Never looked back. Everything I loved, everything, the excitement, the heat, the passion, the adrenaline, the creativeness, because you can create something out of nothing. It's like a blank canvas every time you look at a plate or a vegetable or fruit or beef or whatever it is. So it really allows myself to express myself in that situation.
So what year did you graduate culinary school?
Let me see. I went back, maybe 2012.
Okay, so over 10 years ago.
Yeah.
So what was when you went into culinary school, or let's even say halfway through, and there was probably some future, you know, possibilities they were looking for, right? Like, oh, I could go into fine dining or, you know, things like that. Like, did you have some initial, like, you know, things that you were looking into versus opening up your own restaurant, and how did that evolve?
Yeah, I think every young culinary student goes in there with the ambition and dream of opening their own place. Either it be a bake shop or coffee shop, breakfast joint, fine dining, whatever, even the food trucks. Because at that time, the food truck bubble was just starting. There was a chef in L.A., Roy Choi.
Roy Choi, yeah.
Roy Choi. And he was killing it on there because this is when I think Instagram was barely coming out and Facebook and everything. And so he was killing it. So Austin had a huge food truck vibe. Like, and then this is before Congress Street got taken over by like all the community apartments and all that stuff. And then
The tech bros.
the tech bros, yeah. And so we would take trips to Austin, and I started seeing these food trucks. And so my dream was never really to own my own restaurant. It was just to get like as much knowledge, because I would even sit in other classes that I wasn't in. Me and the instructor had a really good relationship, and I'd be like, I'm trying to learn as much as I can. I know I'm in like baking 1, but baking 2 is right after, and I don't have nothing to do. I'm like, I'm off today. Can I sit in baking 2? I won't make any problems or trouble or anything. Yeah, sure, sit in. So I was sitting in classes that I wasn't even supposed to take it, but I was just trying to get my skill set, you know, trying to learn everything I could. And it wasn't until I took a trip to Austin, and I remember, I think the food truck was called Mighty Cone.
Okay.
They have a restaurant too, and I saw this huge line at this chicken and waffle place, and they served it in a cone. That was their like gimmick. It was
Okay.
It was the Mighty Cone, and it was everything was in a cone. You can walk around Congress and eat, and handheld. And then I remember they opened up the food truck door in the back, and there was this girl working the grill, and it's blistering hot outside, and it was a charcoal grill, and I see the flames come up, and she grabs a scraper, and she's scraping the grill, and she's pouring sweat. She has a bandana on and like coveralls, and then she's grinding. She's covered in tattoos and stuff, but she looks so happy doing it.
Yeah.
And she looks so happy doing it, and then I see her like calling out orders and throwing the chicken on the grill, and she's hustling, she's going at it, and I was like, man, that looks amazing. Like it didn't, because you see the food truck from one point, the little square, you know, and you see her cooking.
Right.
And then you look this way and see a line of people.
Right.
And you're like, man, she's going to get hammered. So, but she was having a blast doing it. And I was like, man, that's what I want to do.
Yeah.
And then that's when the whole dream of owning a food truck or starting a food truck started.
I love the aspect of it. I've always loved the food truck sort of like scene.
Yeah, the
I
dynamic
guess.
between.
Right. And I can definitely hear what you're saying, just like sweating the bandana and just like, but just knowing that you're building your dream.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think there's a little bit of people get kind of lost on the importance of food trucks and how they change the food culture and scene, and they kind of they put the restaurant industry in its head, because now whenever you have events or you have concerts or you have anything that you want to promote, it's always food trucks, and because they have this huge, massive following, and people always want to eat good, and so you start thinking like before food truck days, and it was either like one small vendor or there was no food there, and you had to go get something to eat, and maybe there was a bar, beer stand or something like that, and then now you look at the events that have food trucks, and it's always like, okay, we had to have a food truck,
right,
and we had to have this one, and then
people
the
celebrities
and,
almost,
and then now some of these food trucks got like cult followings and everything, where that became the destination. So like, if you in Seattle, you have to go to certain places, and then also, hey, there's this food truck park, you have to go there. So it turned from being like a thing of convenience to being a destination, and like that's what that city is known for.
Yeah.
So it's really, really cool to see.
And I think traditionally, I mean, the food truck before that were your traditional like, catering style, like, the labor force is coming out at a lunchtime, the bells, the whistle's going, and it's like, we've got a collection of things, but it's just it's a nameless food truck that just has a little bit of everything, right?
Fast, cheap,
and then
easy.
And then it was like, and then still even today it's like, the taco truck, right? But I think to your point, it's like a certain point where like the niche food truck that had like, they were just focused on one thing and doing that incredibly well and creative, they took on a persona of their own. What do you feel? What do you think of that industry today? I mean, I know it got super saturated and stuff like that. And I know they're still out there. I don't know that they're still in their heyday, but I mean, they're still. What are your thoughts now as somebody who transitioned and went to the restaurant, brick and mortar?
The industry is changing, just like everything else, and a lot had to do with also COVID.
Okay.
And the crazy part is the food trucks were actually busier during the COVID section than restaurants, because restaurants had to shut down. There weren't no indoor seating, and a lot of these restaurants didn't have drive-through, weren't ready to take online orders, didn't have a Facebook page, didn't have a big Instagram presence. And you talk about a food truck, and that's their key things that they have done.
Right.
They have a huge Instagram following or Facebook following. They have an online presence. Everything is to call in or to go. You're not going to eat there. So they were built and ready for the restaurant shutdown. And it gave them an audience that wouldn't normally go there. Although the restaurants are closed, this food truck's open, got a line of people or a line of cars waiting outside. Let's check it out. And so they got a revamp of new followers, people trying out their food. So that was amazing to see how the food trucks kind of got a leg up on that. Now I kind of see it as you're starting to see the people that actually want to be in that food truck industry. Because it is glamorized, the Food Network, the great food truck race and things like that. But when you're in there in like 102 degrees and it's piping hot 350-degree oven or a flat top grill, it's a small space, hot oil, everything's around you is meant to either burn you or cut you. And then orders and people from food trucks, it has to be a little quicker because there's no ambiance outside where you can sit and watch TV or kind of distract you from the 5 minutes in a food truck waiting for your food is different than 5 minutes in a restaurant.
There's not the bread basket. There's not, can we get you something else to drink?
AC, a comfortable chair, anything like that. It's usually like, man, it's been forever and it's been 5 minutes. So the whole dynamic is a little bit different in a food truck, but now you're starting to see the people actually like have that passion for it, and then because a lot of people saw it kind of like as a quick buck. Like, man,
they were like, oh, I'm going to jump on this train. Right, because it's like, well, everybody likes them, not realizing that it's hard. It's
work.
A grind.
It's
really, really hard work. Cleaning, prepping, especially if you don't have like a commissary kitchen where you have to prep and clean and do everything on the trailer. So it's like before service, you do service, lunch service, you clean after service, and you get ready for dinner service. It's nothing but constant cleaning, prepping, and getting everything ready.
And sweating.
Yeah, the sweating.
A lot of
And
sweating.
sweating.
The cooking part is maybe about 10-15% of the actual work. So
Yeah.
So what was the move then from from the transition to food truck to, okay, we're going to open up our own restaurant? What were some of the factors involved, and what brought you to that final decision to do that?
a couple of factors played into it. So while we were in Odessa, we were like one of the first top 5 food trucks that opened up in Odessa. So there wasn't really too many codes, or like they didn't know
Uncharted
permit.
Yeah.
I need a food truck permit. There's no such thing. What do you mean? Get your health department permit. And I'm like, all right, we got that. Okay, well, can I open? I don't know. we don't know. We don't know anything about food trucks. And so there was kind of like a back and forth with the city trying to fix that out. And then our popularity grew. And then so our food truck was initially just supposed to be open on Fridays and Saturdays. And then we were supposed to do caterings and things like that. But then when we weren't open, we were getting on Facebook, hey, where you guys open? Or it's a Tuesday, hey, you guys open for dinner? Hey, you guys. And then I was still working my regular job and as a culinary instructor. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to quit. I'm going to start doing the food truck full time. And then so that started being crazy busy. And we got super popular. And then we got all these caterings and offers to go to like Monaghan's, Andrews, you know, all these small towns. And then so I got another food truck. I'm like, okay, this would help us out. But then both of them were crazy busy.
Wow.
And then we're blessed that we live in such a great community that reaches out to us for events. Mm-hmm. So my church is having this event on Sunday, or we're having this fundraiser on Saturday, or we're having this thing on Tuesday. Can you guys come out? It's like 100 employees and they're all going to eat. And you're like, oh yeah, I'm gonna do it, you know. But then you're over here catering, and you're over here also open at your regular location serving the public.
Right.
And so for a while we were kind of burning at both ends, and it was just crazy. And then that's when I told my wife, I'm like, yo, I think we're ready to make the jump to a restaurant. Like the demand is growing, we're selling out. There's only so much you can actually prep in a food truck and then not run ragged. Mm-hmm. So I prayed about it, looked for a building like crazy, and then said, you know what, if this place is gonna be what it's meant to be for us, then it's gonna happen. And then talked to the owner of the building, and he goes, well, give me a week. I'll let you know. And usually, you know how that goes around here. They never let you know.
Yeah. Sure.
And it was crazy because we actually had a food competition in San Antonio, and we took down the food trailer down there. And we were driving between San Antonio and going to Austin to do something else. And we're right there in between. I was driving with my wife at that time. And I was telling her, she was talking to me about if we're going to get the building. If we're going to get the building, it's a lot in rent. Because you go from paying just whatever you're doing at the food truck into a lot more employees, a lot more taxes, a lot more, just everything.
Yeah.
Your cost is crazy in a restaurant. And I've said, you know what? If it happens, it happens. If it's meant to be, it's meant to be. If not, then we don't worry about it. And as soon as we said that, like a minute later, he calls me up and he goes, hey, if you want it, it's yours,
Nice.
the building. And I was like, oh, that's amazing. So, yeah, we jumped into it. And
So can I ask what your wife's background is in terms of like, she like finance or?
Oh no, she was a cosmetologist for like 13 years. Yeah,
Okay.
so both me and her, none of our backgrounds were
in the food.
in the food industry, culinary industry, or anything like that. It got to a point where, again, we were just supposed to open Fridays and Saturdays, just 2 nights a week.
Right.
And she would work in the mornings, and then she would help me prep and get stuff ready.
Okay.
And then go open a food truck on Fridays and Saturdays. And then it got to a point where I'm like, hey, I think we're going to do this full time. I'm like, either, you know, you come and help me out and we do this together, or I'm going to have to hire somebody. And she goes, well, you know, I've been a cosmetologist for so many years, I can always come back to it. I think she was a cosmetologist for like 13 years before that.
Okay.
Yeah. And then she jumped into it and never looked back, too. So it was crazy.
Wives are great. They really are. You know, they're the best. I was asking because, you know, obviously you were both essentially running your own small business to an extent, but like in making this leap and understanding the increased sort of factors, right? Like, did you seek out any guidance, like from other sort of mentors or anything? Or?
For the food truck, so I'm very into like reading, doing my research.
Okay.
And around this area, well, there's no real mentors that can be like, hey, how do you do your food truck?
Right.
Because there was nobody really else doing it at the space that I wanted to. So when we saw the food truck, I saw it as like a restaurant on wheels. Mm-hmm. We're going to treat it as a restaurant on wheels. We're going to have set hours. We're going to be at one certain location. And we're going to do like the best food that we can and then offer specials. Because, man, for New Year's Eve one year, we did live whole lobster dinners for New Year's.
Out of the truck?
Out of the food truck. I've done
Wow.
5-course meals out of the food truck. We did farm to fork dinners out of the food truck.
That's so cool.
We did all these types of caterings out of the food truck. So it's like that was my blank canvas, and I wasn't going to let like that's a food truck, and put these limitations on it.
Right.
Like, we'll do anything and everything. And so it's crazy because we have pictures on New Year's Day, and I'm freaking dumping live lobsters inside the food truck with like a propane burner just going and dumping live lobsters. And we served it like with macaroni and cheese and potato. It was like the same meal you would have got at a restaurant, but we were serving out of a food truck.
Yeah.
So
How did you decide? I mean, obviously, like going to culinary school, it's going to open your eyes to, a lot of food that you probably might not even have tasted before.
Yes, sir.
Right? My assumption.
Oh, yeah.
How did you ultimately decide on your menu today? And and for the people who don't know, can you describe, Curbside Bistro and the cuisine?
So we describe it as gourmet comfort food.
Okay.
New American comfort food, sliders and fries. And the name Curbside Bistro, where it came from, was I knew it was going to be a food truck. So we were going to be around the streets and everything. So curbside, this is before everybody's, pandemic, everybody's curbside now.
Right,
Curbside pickup.
Yeah, curbside pickup, curbside delivery, all these things. And then the bistro, it means like little restaurant in French, like a small restaurant way, way, way back in the day before there was actual restaurants. It was like if your wife can cook really good, then she'd make a bigger meal than normal, and you would charge people to come in at like a set price.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
And then they'd eat at your house, and you'd set up either at the same dining table or you'd set up 2 tables at your house, and the meal that your wife would make for you, they'd get the same meal. So it was kind of like you didn't pick and choose or whatever it was, but if your wife made like a mean beef stew, or what you went outside on a chalkboard and put like, you can dine with us, we're having beef stew and bread and wine for X amount of dollars, and people would come in. So that was the start of like early restaurants.
Okay.
And I was like, I kind of want to have that same mentality. I'm like, we're going to cook what we want to cook, what I want to try and create, and we're by the curbs or Curbside Bistro. And then that kind of got us to our menu, because at first we were doing big burgers, but I was like, man, when you go to a food truck, it's always like, I want to try a little bit from this one. I want to try a little bit from this one. Or you grab the appetizer from this one. I'll grab the dessert. And so samples. So that's when we started switching the sliders. I'm like, you can try one of each or mix and match, or you get this slider, I'll get this slider, and we can try it. And I thought it was a little bit better, so when people are eating in front of a food truck or dining out, they can try a little bit more of the menu, and that just worked out great for us.
Well, and they're not, like, when I think of, like, a traditional slider, they're, like, itty-bitty, but these are still, like, I could not finish the 2 that I had. Like, I was getting full eating my first one.
Okay.
And I was
She literally was like, I'm full, but she was looking at the second one,
then
right?
I had the El Jefe to try, and I was like, okay.
Yeah.
That was so good.
It was good.
And I
Awesome.
finished just over half of it. I was like just staring at it. I'm like, I'm so full, but it's really good. They're both good.
Yeah, we went last night, and I, obviously seen your food, obviously heard the name and everything like that, but that's I think was our assumption, was like, man, these are got to be big old plate, like something you're gonna like. I'm gonna need a nap after I eat this food. And we went last night, and it's a lot of food, but it wasn't like this like massive, you know what I mean, like stunt food. Type of things where it's like it's just big for the sake of being
gimmicky,
big. Right.
And so
it was delicious. Yeah, I had
I like the mix and match option, because you can decide, especially like the first time going somewhere. I even think like the second time going there, I'll be like, I don't know what I want this time. Like I've got to try a whole lot.
And I was like, man, I was like, macaroni and cheese on a slider already, and I was like, well, so yeah, I had the Homer Simpson.
There you go.
And the hot chick, and you had the
OG, is that what it was called? The number one?
The classic, the OG.
Yeah.
And a Jefe.
Yeah.
And that was a big misconception, because our sliders too, but I still wanted to give you good, quality and bang for your buck. So our sliders are 3 ounces each, and most burgers you get are 3 ounces, one full burger. and they all pack a punch. They all pack. They're loaded with flavor. Every one of their sliders is. Before we had our little girl, I would say these are our kids. And so that's why we named them all different ones. And they all got made up different backgrounds and stories for them. And so they're very personal to us. And so it's funny to see, you'll see like a grandma with, their little boy or their nephew. And they go up there and they're like, the little nephew's like, I'll get the Homer Simpson. And then the grandpa will be like, I'll get the Jefe. Like, they're like, I don't know what it is, but I always get the Jefe. I always get the Homer Simpson. Or give me the Mother Clucker. And they're calling it by their names.
Yeah.
And so it makes it more personal for them. But it's amazing to see. And
it's a great branding play for sure.
Yeah.
So did you, I know you wanted to ask a question specifically.
Okay. So, like, a lot of, like, doctors and nurses that I have known in the past, like, never watched Grey's Anatomy. They're like, it's an unrealistic depiction of, like, what it's really like to be in the field. Yeah. But, like, what about The Bear? Like, do you guys watch? The Bear? Yeah.
I just finished the season 2, the last episode last night. So, yeah, I watched The Bear. But there's some certain things on there that I'm like, that would never work. So, it's like...
Please let us know.
It's like the level of quality that chef, like three Michelin starred chef and stuff like that, you wouldn't break down that easy. It's so, like, chefs, if you notice, maybe like their whole lives are falling apart or things are going on, but once you're in that kitchen, in that space, it's like you're full control, you're cool, calm, and collected, because everybody else is going to be freaking out around you.
Yeah.
It's going to snowball.
It's going to snowball. And then you're, at the end of the day, you're the leader of the kitchen or the restaurant or anything, and so they look up to you. And so imagine if you're, have a whole bunch of tickets, you're in the weeds, you kind of feel like you're overwhelmed, and you look at your leader, the guy that's supposed to be like know-it-all and supposed to be supporting you, and he's over there like, I don't know what's going on. Yeah. Stop the printer, and yelling and the cussing, and so there is a lot of places like that, and that is a culture. I just think they just amplified everything, for TV's sake, But like running out of beef or running out of buns, that wouldn't happen at a kitchen that size. Especially a chef of that caliber. Everything's counted for. Everything's double checked. Everything's triple checked. You're making sure everything before the actual lunch rush or dinner rush, you go by and you check the line. You do a line check and you taste sauces and you taste everything. So usually the chef will know everything that's in his restaurant and everything that's not, because sometimes I still get that all the time when they'll be like, hey, chef, we're out of this. I'm like, no, it's in there. No, chef, we're out of this. No, I ordered it. I know it's in there. And they're like, oh. And then I'm like, go look for it. If you don't find it, let me know. And you do know. But on that very rare occasion, you're wrong. But but it does happen.
You've taken account of a lot of things. Okay.
Yeah, but the Bear Show is a really, really good show. I think it shows a lot of the stress and the mental stress.
Yeah, everything was like, even how they edited it, I was sitting there going like, man, this seems like stress.
And it is. And so, and it was funny because when I first started watching it, I was with my wife, we were watching it, and she was, I can't watch this, it's stressing me out. I'm like, oh man, I can tell what they're doing wrong with here. I'm like, yo, that beef should have been in there.
You're troubleshooting while you're watching.
I'm like, that beef should have been in there since last night, man. What are you doing? You don't put a roast in that takes 12 hours, like at 9 in the morning for lunch service. I'm like, that's not real. You know what I mean? But it was cool because they have Matty Madison.
The chef. The actual chef.
He's the actual chef. He's in it. And I know for season 2, they got a whole lot more chefs involved. And some of the kitchens that they actually show are part of like Alinea and real restaurants that have Michelin stars. Okay. And they use that as like scenes. So that's really, really cool to see. Yeah.
Yeah, Matty Matheson's great. I mean, he has great personality. Watch him on YouTube all the time.
Yeah, he's wild. He's one of those guys that I like because he cooks what he wants and what he likes to eat. So maybe it's not conventional. This is not a true Italian carbonara, but this is the way I like it, and it's freaking delicious.
Right, right. So, yeah, like a highly trained, French chef or a certain, stature would be like, that's...
Yeah.
But you're like, does it taste good?
You're putting crushed up potato chips in a burger, or what do you on an omelet? You're putting crushed up potato chips, but I mean, it tastes
looked good.
Yeah, it did. I'm like, it looks good.
Yeah,
it's at the end of the day.
Yeah, you know what? Speaking of that, then, okay, so at some point, I was in a stage. I grew up in Vegas, so I was at a stage where it was like, I don't know what I wanted to do. I hadn't picked necessarily a career path yet, but I grew up, like my mom worked nights. And I was like, I'm cooking, right? And I was like, I knew how to cook some hamburger helper when I'm like 6. You know what I'm saying? And so I loved it, but at some point, I was thought maybe I would want to go to culinary school. The one thing that stopped me, it's really three, but it's wrapped into one, that I wanted to ask you is I have just a huge aversion to mayonnaise, eggs, and most seafood. And so I think there was I literally stopped myself going like, they're going to make me eat mayonnaise. Like it's part of so much stuff. So was there anything you were just like, I hate this, but did you just get over it? Or did you just like...
You kind of have to. So whenever I started actually working in a professional kitchen, it's taste.
Yeah.
So the final product should never be a surprise. Maybe it should be a surprise of how well everything blends together. But like, let's say you're putting together a burger. You've already tasted ground beef. You tasted the pickles. You tasted the sauce. Or whatever dish you're making. Like, so everything you've tasted because you're cooking, because the taste changes as you cook from the beginning. Like even the sauce or soup before it starts boiling. Once it starts boiling down, once it reduces down, and then once it's actually been sitting there and let the flavors actually blend together, it all changes. And for you to know that or know what's wrong, you have to taste it in every three of those steps.
Right. You got to be a problem solver. All the time.
Yeah. Especially you can taste it. What's wrong with it? Well, it needs salt. But you know what? I think it's going to get there. Maybe add a little vinegar, let it reduce down a little bit, and we'll check in an hour and see what's going on. And so you have to taste everything. And for me, I have two things I don't like whatsoever. Chipotle peppers in adobo.
Okay.
Just because my grandma used to make her own chipotle peppers in adobo and put them in big jars, and then she would put the adobo in it and ferment it. So it was kind of like kimchi, that smell
slimy.
of kimchi.
Yeah.
And fermented. I remember one time for Christmas, she gave us a big jar and we brought it over, and I was at the kitchen table and I was a little kid running around, and I bumped it and it fell, and it stained the wood. That adobo would stained it, and that smell just stayed there for over 2 weeks. And so every time I walk in the kitchen, there's just that adobo, the chipotle, and so that grossed me out. that I don't want to taste it, but I can make you an amazing chicken chipotle pasta. I can make you a really good sauce. I can cook with it. It just I don't like it,
right?
But I know what it's supposed to taste like. And then spaghetti, like the spaghetti noodle.
You just don't like spaghetti noodles,
like the spaghetti with the ground beef and the tomato sauce. The classic.
Yeah.
The $4
ragu,
$4 we could feed a whole family.
Right.
Just as a kid growing up, and that was your
Ate
spaghetti.
that
For $5 you can feed a whole family. It's a pack of spaghetti and the ragu and ground beef.
I don't think I could stomach hamburger today, but yes, I agree with you there. Yeah. I feel like I think it was just a maturity level where I just couldn't get over it. I was sitting there going like. And then then you would mask it by calling it an aioli or something. I was like, that's mayo, dude. Don't try to trick me. That's
you guys aren't tricking me.
That's
I know
mayo.
What you do. Yeah.
But
seafood, you don't like any seafood?
It wasn't until later where I was like, I think my first foray into seafood was just sushi rolls, and even today, you'll never catch me ordering an entree of seafood.
Yeah.
Maybe if I've been to Hawaii, maybe what I mean, where I know okay, it was caught an hour ago. But even Vegas has amazing seafood that's flown in, right? If you're on the strip.
Yeah,
right?
the strip.
But I'm just never that's what I want, But I didn't grow up in a household that ate it, and I didn't grow up on the Pacific Northwest where it was just common, or in Maine or something, right?
Yeah.
And so, but it was just that aversion. But I loved it so much. I ended up buying a huge, 300-page, culinary book, and I just wanted to learn. I thought just knife skills were just the coolest thing in the world.
So I think it's super important for everybody to get to know how to cook well. Maybe not 20, 30 recipes, but at least have a couple in your back pocket, one for beef, one for chicken, one for fish, vegetables, and then a good pasta one or something comfort. You have to eat for the rest of your life. Might as well learn how to cook it really, really good. And knife skills are important. Not prep and knife skills and organization is what usually stops most people from making a dish. Because they'll be like, oh, that looks delicious. And they look at the recipe, just I'm getting pizza.
Yeah. Some people are like, it's going to take me longer to create this and cook it than to actually serve it and eat it. It's some point you're going man, is it worth it? But when it tastes amazing, it's worth it.
And it's fun. It's a nice, you can do it to relax. It's a good pause. And then at the end, you get something delicious that you can share. Because I saw a lot of people during COVID, even bread baking.
like the sourdoughs.
bread making, sourdoughs, cooking.
Banana bread.
Yeah, banana. Everybody turned into a baker all of a sudden.
Yeah.
And it was cool to see because then they saw like, and it also gave it appreciation for the people that actually, bake bread or make the food, or you saw that appreciation of food. Of like, I know how hard it is to make a good bechamel or good hollandaise. This is really good bechamel hollandaise. Like,
Right.
I give props to whoever made it. So it changed that. So
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah, there's some days where I'm just like, man, I wish I would have just maybe pulled the trigger. I love what I do now today, but I do. Yeah, I do love cooking. I'm just always in a position where I go like, I know there's that much more that's out there. You know what I mean? Now the maybe a culinary school is turned into the Food Network or YouTube now these days. So, but positioning that. So for those who don't know, like it's probably last season now, like back in April, maybe 6 months ago or something, season premiere of Chopped, show I love.
Yeah.
You won that episode. So
yes, sir.
As somebody who loves that show, I've been watching it for years. Like,
how did you get on there?
Yeah. Can you talk us a little bit behind the scenes of like how did that happen? Like, how did you go?
So I've been watching that show for years. I think everybody that's into cooking, and it's crazy because so many people watch it that aren't even into cooking.
Yeah.
Like, it's a good reality show. You see the suspense, you see the drama, and the thing that I loved about it is like right there shows you if you can cook, if you can, are you really? Because my favorite thing is whenever they go on there, and I'm a chef at so-and-so for 20 years, and my name is Luigi, and this, and I cook pasta, and then they make a dish, and then the chef's like, chef, your pasta's overcooked.
Yeah.
And dun, 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 so it's like, it's really cool to see that. You're like, come on, dude, you're not really cooking. But I got approached through Instagram.
Oh, okay.
For that. So both Beat Bobby Flay and Chopped were reached out through Instagram. And it always seems like a fake scam, you know what I mean?
Right.
And so they reach out to you and like, hey, we saw your profile pic and we're looking for chefs through Texas at that time. And they're like, we think you'd be a good fit for a show. Are you interested? And I was like, what show are you talking about? And they're like, Chopped or Beat by Flay. I'm like, and then I'm like,
send us 3 Bitcoin.
Yeah, 3 Bitcoins. And then also, a prince in Dubai wants to marry you. And they're like, and your uncle left you a large sum of money
in
that
Nigeria.
you don't know about in Nigeria. And we just need you to send $500 so he can get it out the bank. But that whole application process at first is crazy. It's like I was applying for the hardest, best job I could ever get.
Yeah.
Because you do a whole application process and they vet you and make sure you're legit, and you had to submit all these pictures and recipes. And and so for Beat Bobby Flay, I think it took about a year for me to actually, from the day I knew I was going to get on it to actually be on the show, about a year, and then to be released. And then this one was a little quicker. I think it took like 4 or 5 months, but just constant back and forth emails. And they'll say, show me a picture of food that best represents you, and we want the title, the description, and the recipe. And then you send them that, and then they would send you back like, okay, so why did you use this instead of this? Or you use pecans, why not walnuts?
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so and then they have a whole culinary team that whatever recipes you provide, everything, they'll show it to them and to make sure like.
Oh, they're going to make it too, probably.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. There's some dishes that they make too to see if you're on the up and up, and it's constantly like nail biting waiting because and every email says this is not a confirmation that you'll be on the show.
Sure.
Wow.
You're still in the application process, and so nothing is sure until they send you. We will send you a confirmation email, and so you're there just waiting and sending email, and then you get an email. Oh, they want another picture, or they want another recipe,
Man.
and so it's crazy. But yeah, as soon as I got the confirmation, I think I had it like a week or 2 weeks notice, and because they tell you we're gonna film from maybe these 2 months. Don't block them off. Make sure you have nothing that you can't leave or whatever. And I'm like, all right, awesome. And then I was supposed to be down there for 3 days in New York. That's where they film it. I actually got 1 day extra because I started doing research and looking on things. And one of the chefs was talking about that she wished she had 1 day to kind of decompress and like the jet lag and everything, get her bearings in order. Because she got there that day and then went to do the interview, and the next day she did the competition. The next day you leave. And so I was like, yeah, I'm going to take that advice. So I got there a day extra, decompressed, ate my pizza, walked around, did all the stuff that like will be in the back of my head. So when I came to like the actual competition day, I was ready. I was focused. I wasn't thinking about anything else. So,
Wow.
and it's exactly like it is on the show. It is
Okay.
exactly like
I mean, I've, again, like working in Vegas and I'd been graciously been exposed to most of the restaurants there, working for Vegas.com and stuff. Like, it was part of my job just to go out to all these places. And so, I'd see Bobby Flay at Mesa Grill. I don't know if Mesa Grill's still there. He opened more.
Yeah.
But I've always loved Alton Brown. Like, I mean, it's just like, just that vibe. Like, and there was another chef from San Angelo was on your episode as well, right?
Yes. What's funny is whenever she came out, they were saying she was from, I think, Wisconsin. That's where she's at right now.
Oh, okay.
But as we started talking more and more in the green room, because like as soon as you get there, everybody's sizing you up, and you had to be there like at 6 a.m, and everybody's sizing you up, and they're like, but I was ready to have fun. I'm like, dude, this is a dream come true.
Sure.
I'm like, there's nothing y'all can say to me or anything to throw me off. I'm here to win. I'm here to have fun. I'm here to have a blast. And the other two chefs, one was from New Orleans, one was from LA, and he was like, I just fed Drake the other day and DJ Khaled and this and this. And I do. I just fed like my homeboys working from the oil field, and I just, I just fed my homeboys, or I just gave some food away for free, or I fed, my little nephew coming out, and so I was like, that doesn't matter to me. You know? I'm like, I'm here to win, and so me and her started talking, and we kind of clicked because she was so nice. The other guys were kind of like, trash talking,
status symbols, and stuff,
or like really off and put their AirPods on and stuff like that. I'm like, all right, that's fine, And then we started talking and found out she was from San Angelo originally, and her family was had restaurants and barbecue places, and then did catering. So I was like, man, that's awesome. And she was, hopefully it's not those two West Texans together. I'm like, no, it's not gonna do that. And it ended up being, two West Texans versus each other.
Oh, because they're filming multiple episodes throughout. Like, I mean, is it a full day shoot?
Yeah, the way they explain it to you is you get there at 6 a.m. And then if you lose round 1, you're usually gone a little bit before lunchtime.
Okay.
If you lose round 2, you're gone a little bit before dinner time. But if you make it all the way to the end, you're going to leave like around 8 or 9 o'clock.
Okay.
And so they tell you it's a long day of shooting and everything. So I was like, I told my wife, I'm like, yo, pray you don't get a text from me from before lunch, before dinner time. I'm like, pray you don't get a text from me. Because they take up your cell phones too.
Yeah.
As soon as you get there, they take up your cell phones. And so that was pretty cool because you're not worried about anything else. You're not worried about work or vendors or anything else. And so that was really, really awesome.
That's super cool, man. Just congratulations on your win.
Thank you.
It was amazing. I just, just even in my 20s, like just watching all these shows, I'm just like, but I'm the type where, like I like to be behind the camera too. So I'm always wondering like, what's going on behind the, like we watch Crime Scene Kitchen.
Okay.
You watch that?
I have not seen that.
It's a baking show, and like each team, it's usually like starts with professional, or professionally trained bakers, classically trained, and then like self-taught. And then they set up the kitchen like a crime scene where each team has 2 minutes to figure out like what ingredients were used based on like what's in the dishwasher, what's in the trash.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's pretty good.
Oh, that's crazy.
And then,
it's Jonah
they're
Hill,
like,
so he's
they're
funny.
like, oh, okay, they're like tasting stuff or going in the fridge and like, well, that clearly hasn't been used, and then they have to go back and they have 2 hours to
figure out what the dessert is.
Bake it.
Baking,
Okay.
yeah.
I gotta check that out.
I just just love those cooking shows, but I like the evolution, I guess, of them.
Yeah.
Would you do it? Would you do more? I mean, would you?
Yeah, I would love to.
Yeah.
What's another one you'd like to be in?
Which one? That Guy's Grocery Games looks cool.
Guy Fieri's?
Yeah, Guy Fieri's Grocery Games. Because it's so cool. Like you're talking about the behind the scenes. So you're in this green room, and that's where you're going to spend most of the time at. And then so you don't even see like the actual kitchen until they walk you through it and everything. And you're walking through the kitchen. I'm like, I can memorize this whole kitchen. Oh my God, I was freaking out. And then the first time you actually walk out, like you do that little famous walkout, and you see the chefs.
Yeah.
I went, oh my God. I'm like, dude, I seen you on TV. I like Scott Coden. And I was like, Amanda. I was like, this is so. I know you guys. It was funny. I was having a good time. But the behind the scene things is cameras are everywhere.
Right.
Cameras are everywhere. But the PAs, everybody there is so nice. It's super nice, and they're not intimidating, and they want you to make it comfortable for you. They kept telling us, hey guys, relax. If anything, this is the most amazing 30-minute free commercial for your restaurant.
Right.
Yeah.
So and they kept making us feel like relaxed because man, all the cameras in there, you're like, oh, I can't believe it. And so your mind starts kind of going.
Right.
But
you might get a stage fright.
Yeah, stage fright.
Sure.
And then the thing that was funny was they're like, all right, we filmed 5 episodes already. In the past 5, somebody has always cut themselves.
Oh, wow.
Somebody has cut themselves.
Because they're just going so fast?
They're either going so, but it's nerves. Like, in Beat Bobby Flay, my hands were shaking when I was plating. And I had to like, oh, man, And then this happened too during Chop because you're like, all the pressure, like, you try to put that in the back of your head, but then you're like, this is going to be on national TV. Everybody's going to see this. If I mess up, if I do something wrong, don't forget the salt. All these things are in the back of your head and pressure. And you're there trying to put like little edible flowers on something pretty.
Tweezers or something.
Yeah. And just so your nerves are shot. You're just, trying to go at it. But yeah, there's a couple shows I would love to be in.
Yeah.
And so hopefully.
It's
really
your own show.
Yeah.
I think that'd be great. So how do you I mean, it's such a creative industry, right? Like, are you just constantly, I know you have, Curbside Bistro, like, are you thinking of diversifying in anything in the future? Like, is there something you're like, I'd love to, work in the, I don't know, sushi or something like that? And, what I mean? What goes through your head as not only a restaurateur, you got to run that business, but actually as a chef?
Yeah, so my head is always filled with crazy concepts and ideas. I'm blessed enough that the community knows that, and so they always look out for like a chef special, and because we've done like deep fried soft shell crab sandwiches at our restaurant, we've done deep fried lobster mac and cheese, we've done all these different types of like chef specials, but that just me in my head like wanting to create something and don't have that proper outlet for it. So I'm like, this will be pretty cool, but I can't keep it on the menu all the time. So it's like a chef special.
Right.
And so it kind of gives me some freedom of creating these dishes that are running around in my head. But yeah, I would love to diversify. I'm always looking at what's new, especially like cooking competitions and things like that. Going to Dallas in November for a huge cooking competition. But that's what kind of keeps me. Like, I'm always looking at different competitions, what's going on, what new food challenges, what
trends or something.
Trends and everything like that. Trying not to stay stagnant, because I've seen a whole lot where some chefs, some people, like, they sip on their juice a little bit too much and they believe their own hype. Yeah. And I'm like, nah, try to stay humble, try to stay hungry, because whatever you're creating, there's 10 other guys behind you looking at what you're creating.
True.
And coming after you and seeing everything else. So I feel it's important. And then also, going and checking out the local restaurant scene, like going to farmers markets, going to these food trucks, going see what other people are creating. Because here in Midland and Odessa, you have some really, really amazing mom and pop shops and amazing food trucks, restaurants, and home bakers. Like, and I'm not one to be like, they're selling food off Facebook or something like that. I'm not gonna order it. Man, that looks good. I'm gonna hit you up. Hey, let me get 2 plates where I'll meet you. You know what I mean? So, and a lot of times that food is amazing. They're just trying to get to that level of food truck or food stand or anything else like that. So it's really cool to see that like grassroots start off. And I've seen a couple people that started from their houses and now they're food truck or at the market, anything. So that's beautiful to see.
Do you have a favorite restaurant in Odessa and Midland that?
Oh man,
I mean, it doesn't have to be a favorite, but like one that's really good.
I have several. But,
yeah, he's in a position. If he doesn't say one name, he says another.
Well, we can cut it out, but I just want to know for us.
There are a lot. So a lot of these are my friends too.
Yeah,
sure.
And so like restaurant people meet with restaurant people.
Yeah.
If you're a mechanic, your friends are mechanics. So it's just natural. But
well, off camera, just let us know some places that we might not have heard of yet.
Taqueria Reynosa is really good. Taqueria Reynosa
Did we go there?
It's on University in Grandview. It's in Odessa.
Yeah.
This one's in Odessa.
Is that the one that's? What's the building look like?
It's like it used to be a gas station.
That's one of the first places we.
That's one of the first places.
Okay.
It was really good.
Okay, yeah. So there are really good friends, and we do food truck together and everything else. But he brought his style from his place where they were in Mexico and in Texas, and they brought it over here just because he was missing the food.
Yeah.
And then there's such a big population of people from that area, the RGB, the valley.
Yeah.
And he's like, why is there nobody making food like this? Like, we cook really good. And so that was really cool to see. Ecolega, another food truck that's really, really good. In Midland, De Casa Pizza.
It's so good.
Yeah.
I love those guys.
Yeah. So it's
They're
all
a lot of fun.
local. And then the farmer's market, every stand at the farmer's market.
Yeah.
Like, I'll go over there and I get in trouble. I'm walking out with, like, bags of cookies and biscuits and
I know. I just got a bunch of pickles and salsa the other day, last week. I was just
yeah, because we always go over to Golf Course Church of Christ on, like, Fridays and Saturdays. We'll have, like, the different
Jammin' Yammin', the Jamaican food truck. That
Texas Fudge, Everett. That's our
Texas
dude.
Fudge, yeah, Everett.
Man.
He used to, I don't know if he still does the Frosties, the milkshake Frosties.
I know he was doing them a few months ago.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe for, like, the summer. But those Frosties are crazy good.
Yeah.
We used to park out here when we brought our food trucks to Midland, and we used to go out there and then we'd link up and park together. But it was because it was so cool because it's like, hey, who got a good spot open on Friday night?
Yeah.
Nobody. Well, let's hit up Avery's or Golf Course Road Church, and all right, let's start messaging people with it. See if we can kind of create.
So it's pretty
buzz.
Spontaneous then, like
Yeah,
that.
Now they have it set up where it's every Friday.
Okay,
But back
right.
then it was very, very spontaneous, and then my catering got canceled, or I don't have nothing on Wednesday night. Hey, well, let's link up. Let's. You got a pizza food truck, you got a funnel cake food truck, you got us and a Mexican restaurant, and we park at a parking lot and. Yo, you promote it, I promote it. Let's share it like crazy, and let's get some business. Let's go.
Really grassroots, yeah. Because I realize you guys don't have a website for the. Does that come from the food truck background, where it was like?
It was from the food truck background, the money aspect, and then
Fair.
I didn't think we needed it at that time because I'm like, everybody orders. So through our Facebook, you can hit the order now button. It has all our information, our messages. You can directly message us. I get it to my phone. And so I'm like, everything we have is on Facebook. And when you type in Curbside Bistro, that's the first thing that pops up is the Facebook.
It's Facebook, yeah.
And then everybody that we were dealing with had Facebook. And I'm like, and then I'm telling you, when we started the restaurant, it was no debt, no investors, no credit card, none like that. It was it was all our saving our money. And then we would get people that are like, hey, I can make you a website. I'm like, how much? And then back to like a cheap price would be like $1,000 for a website. I'm like, dude, I've spent $1,000 on beef. I'm like, I need my beef more than I need, my website. I'm like, I have a big food truck party on Friday. I can't spend the money I'm going to use for the beef on a website, and so that was our mentality on it, and it just kept going. But and
I mean, from a restaurant, I work with a lot of small businesses, work with enough small businesses. Restaurant websites are hard when, a lot of the times it just ends up being a glorified menu.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
Especially if you can't do anything from that point.
Yeah.
Right. It's like, okay, great. I can see the food, and that's great. Right. But yes, I can see the food on social media too. But I think it starts to go into like, well, what else can we?
Yeah.
Like if you were selling merch, or
the more you could
sauces,
use it,
or then it starts to be more of a.
So I've seen it where I've seen restaurants have websites and not utilize them to the proper way they should.
They're outdated.
And the thing that kills me is when they take a picture of the menu and it's the menu on the website, so it's not even integrated or like the font or anything. I'm like, no, because I see that a lot on Facebook. They'll just take a picture of the menu. They don't create a certain menu,
right?
And then so because we needed it, so we kind of got into a little bit of marketing and social media and posting, and it was kind of built off necessity because back then I'm like, I create a dish or I create a special, I'm like, I had to wait till somebody comes in and takes a picture, like a really good picture, and tags it, loads it up. I'm like, we could do it right now.
Yeah.
And then whenever we get these like spontaneous events, I'm like, I can't wait till some dude comes up with a flyer. I'm like, let me get whatever app I have on my phone and try to create a flyer and things like that, and hashtags and all that stuff. But it's super, super important. Like social media is super important for a restaurant. But I've seen where some have totally utilized it. Again, selling merch, sauces, online orders. There's a pizza place in New York that they do through Goldbelly, but they only do it on Thursdays. Their only deliveries on Thursday, and their website, that's what it says, and that they use that just for Thursdays for their pizza delivery, which is
it's that
cool
exclusivity that helps too.
Yeah.
Right? It's like pre-sales, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
That's kind of rolling into what I was saying. Is like, and I found here in Midland, but again, this is sort of, it's all over where it's like, and I think obviously, it helped that you won a television competition, you had that sort of publicity behind you as well, but obviously you had a cult following before that, but like, you kind of see it as somebody who runs a restaurant and multiple restaurants now, like, you open first 6 months, you're banging, you know what I mean? Like the newspaper article, the television, social media and stuff like that. Like for the people who are out there who are like, I want to open up a restaurant. I'm up to that point in food truck. So like, can you give some like playing the long game? Do you have some like insights of going like, yes, we know for like the first 6 months or something, this is going to be the hot thing, right? Every new restaurant's the hot thing, right? But like, how does that extend over years and years and years?
Yeah. I think the most important part is getting involved in the community.
Okay.
So I think that's one thing a lot of like franchises here kind of overlook. And it's like, since we've been deprived of franchises here for so long, when a new franchise comes in, it's like, oh, we're so lucky to have them and everything. And then so people just flock to it. Rather, as in somebody that opens up a restaurant that's been saving 3 years and opens up a restaurant, the first day they open, they don't have a line out the door, you know, and the mom and pop shop has to work like 10, 20 times as harder just to get that same attention and get those, you know, people in there and people looking at their Facebook and everything else. But if you're involved in the community, you're giving back, you actually partner up with local community members, non-for-profits and everything else like that, then the community will start seeing you as one of their own and start taking care of you as well. Because all our business, for restaurants for the most part, except like merch and everything, is face-to-face.
Right.
It's not online or anything else like that. So why would you spend so much focusing on like your online presence and like Dallas or somewhere else or online store when you could focus that in the grassroots and get involved and go do, you know, pop-ups and do collabs and get your name out there, do the farmers markets and things like that. Because at the end, people start going to who they know and who they trust. And then they're like, look, we can go to this restaurant and help them out because they also get involved with, you know, this non-for-profit that we really love.
Yeah.
And they actually give back. And then they start putting, they might feel like they know you and they start kind of building a relationship, even though they might have never met you. They just see you on Facebook, but they feel like they have this relationship with you, which you're not going to get like at a franchise restaurant.
Yeah.
You know?
100% agree with you there. I really appreciate you saying that. Like I saw that you guys were, you know, helping to donate to, you know, the fires from Hawaii and things like definitely like giving back. You know, this is why we created Best of Midland and are starting to extend it out to Odessa. Not that we don't want to. It's just there's the two of us.
Yeah.
But you know, the stories of the small business owners, right, and the entrepreneurs. Like, you know, you've listened to this for an hour now. Like, you know what I mean? Like the blood, sweat, and tears. Just knowing that, people fall into, you know, sort of muscle memory, especially when it comes to food, right? It's like they go where it's like there's a convenience factor. There's just like, you know, that's just it's a fallback plan, right? A lot of people aren't always actively seeking new restaurants or locally owned or things like that. You know what I mean? A lot of people, I don't even think they recognize a lot of the times that, you know, it's a franchise or it's a chain.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But it's new to them, whatever it may be. But you're just not going to get that passion.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean, at those places. And we, you know, we don't want to hold you up. We know you're super busy, but you know, we really appreciate your story. And that's why we wanted to have you in, is that aspect. Wanted to hear your story. You know what I mean? I loved the aspect of like somebody who's like, you know, work hard, but passion is going to drive it all day, and not just like, oh, you know, my grandfather gave me $1 million, and I was just, I needed something to do.
No, that's exactly.
You know what I mean?
The passion, and you're gonna see that in these local mom and pop shops. Yeah. That's why the passion that drives everything. Because if you're in it for a cash grab, whenever the fryer goes down, or whenever somebody calls in, or something happens, the third time you got to work a double, you're like, you know what, I can actually sell this and make something that, you know, like, and then if you just want to like. Serve like the cheapest stuff you can and get over it, it's going to show.
Right.
And the customers so knowledgeable now. They're not going to, and it shows in the food. It shows if you took care of a place. It shows when you walk in. It shows if you have the heart, if you have passion for it. And so the customers are starting to realize that, and they see it. They see it right through it. There's some amazing stories out there. Some beautiful stories of local mom and pop shops, and it's just amazing for them to share. And thank you guys for having us. And
no, of course,
it's
I
awesome.
mean, you know, been wanting to have you on for a while now. I just understand you're incredibly busy, and then you're opening up your second location, which is again a testament to, you know, the food, the hospitality, right, the service, and obviously, you know, your passion. I do have one more question, just because I think a lot of the times it's like, people are very, especially online, right? Okay. Not face to face. There, a lot of people are really quick to give negative reviews or, complaints. You know what I mean? How do you deal with negative reviews? I'm sure you don't get many, but I mean, how do you deal with that? And also, like, to tag onto that, like, is there anything like you could tell the public out there?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? In terms of like,
be easy. Take it easy. Yeah.
Yeah.
So negative reviews. My first official kitchen job was at a nursing home in Odessa, Lincoln Towers. It's like one of the biggest buildings out there in Odessa. And you want to hear negative reviews or Yelp, have an 80-year-old that you messed up their gravy or their toast, rip you a new one. They older people don't hold back anything.
No.
They know that they're like, I don't have enough time to be messing around with it. They're blunt. They're rude to you if you mess up their food.
Sure.
And so, like, I think I worked there for 3 or 4 months or something like that, or maybe a little bit longer for a while. And I have never had that many insults and, like,
I bet.
I'll take the ugliest review right now. Like, oh, that's not that bad. You know what I mean? But I've had old people like, this is wallpaper paste. This is like, They're like, who made this? I did. Sir, this is the worst pot of beans I've ever had in my life. They shouldn't let you cook. I'm gonna see if I can get you fired tomorrow. And yeah, like I'm trying to tell you, these guys they were horrible about that.
Yeah.
So I kind of had like a thicker skin. And then plus an oil field.
Yeah.
Have you ever messed up in the oil field? The way you can get reprimanded and talked to, and it's like that bear how they're cussing and everything, and everybody else is like, dude, you can't talk to me like that. And they're like, it's Wednesday.
This is what it is.
This is what it is.
This is normal.
It's that culture. So I think I had a little thicker skin than most. And won't let stuff bug me as bad, but you try to look through the reviews in like kind of two lenses. One, is there any validity to what they're saying?
Sure.
Is there any validity to what they're saying? And then are they telling you in a good space so you can fix it, or do they want to kind of just like insult you and kind of get the clout of, look, I know everybody loves this restaurant, but I had a bad time, and let me share why. So is it coming from a good place? And is it valid? And do they want you to help move? Because some stuff is going to fall through the crack. I mean, we're all human.
Right.
Of course.
The biggest thing is the misconception of restaurants. Everything has to be perfect all the time. We have so many customers that we deal with. Every plate's different. Our employees, everybody's going through something. So sometimes you're going to have an off day, just like anybody else that works.
Right.
If you work in an office, if you work anywhere else, you have off days. You make daily mistakes. But the difference is, if you do a typo on an email, nobody's going to take a picture of that typo, blast it online, and like criticize you for you and your spelling and your writing and anything else like that.
Yeah.
If you mispull a product, or you work at a convenience store or something and you misrang a product, nobody's going to, cashier number 9 at HEB is terrible.
Right.
You know what I mean?
They should be fired.
They should be fired. Who hired them?
Yeah.
Who even showed them how to cashier? And you're like, but if you see some of these reviews in other restaurants and things like that, like that is exactly what they're doing.
Yeah.
And so
people can be mean.
But I don't know what it is. And even like guests that are rude to like their servers or bartenders and things like that, I'm like, yo, you wouldn't talk to anybody else like that.
100%. No, they wouldn't.
You wouldn't talk to anybody else that messed up like that.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is sometimes when they get to restaurants and they feel like they have to belittle people. But my biggest thing is have a little bit more consideration. Know that, yes, we are human. Like, no matter what, we can put in the strictest codes. We can put in, like, the best guidelines and everything else. But sometimes errors are going to happen. Mm-hmm. Just like whatever they do for a job, I'm pretty sure they have errors during the day, but it's different. Nobody takes a picture or blasts them on Facebook. And it's just restaurants, we're open for those types of reviews. It's kind of like an easy target.
Right.
You can take a picture, and some stuff is valid, some stuff isn't valid. I mean, everything you got to take, like a grain of salt, just take it on your chin, keep going. At the end of the day, if you know you're trying your best, your crew's trying its best, and some things are going to slip up, you had to take it as a mistake.
Yeah.
Okay, we made a mistake. We're going to learn from it. I cannot say it's never going to happen again because, that'd be unrealistic.
Right. Yeah.
It might happen again. We might drop the ball, but we're going to work a little harder or try to fix ourselves. But I think everything, all the good reviews, there's some chefs and people that just want to hear great reviews, but you got to look at the bad ones too because sometimes there's some things that are right on there and it allows you to fix it. But try not to take it too hard on yourself. And if you know you're doing good and your crew's working hard, then all right, take it on chin. But if you've been slacking off and
right,
and your crew's not that good, and you've been, you haven't been really focused and not taking care of business, then I mean, sometimes
why didn't these come through sooner? Actually,
then you kind of deserve some of those bad reviews, But
that makes a lot of sense. I mean, because we're such big supporters of small business and local and things like that. I'm like, even if we have a bad experience, it's like, I mean, I guess to some people, it's just like, well, okay. Like,
and some people, like for us, I know we're not for everybody. We're not going to make everybody happy. Even if I make you the best Homer Simpson I can make you, you might not like mac and cheese. You might not like bacon. You might not like barbecue sauce.
Yeah.
So even if it's the best version of that burger, no matter what I do, you're not going to like it.
Right.
Yeah.
And so sometimes we have to get, maybe we're not for you.
Yeah, that makes sense. Food is one of the most subjective forms of creativity, right?
The thing that's funny is, like on forums, I see who has the best pizza around. Best for who? I don't think there's such a thing as best food item or anything else like that.
Right.
Because you might be like, this place has this burger that's the best and has blue cheese. Well, I don't like blue cheese.
Right.
Yeah.
And then I go and eat it, and then I'll review that restaurant. Everybody says this burger's so good and it's the best, but I don't like blue cheese and I hate it, so that it gets caught in the crossfire.
So it's terrible, 1 star.
Yeah. So it's terrible, 1 star, but it's an amazing blue cheese burger. It just isn't.
It's not for you.
It's just not for you. But that's the crazy part of it. But I think there's really good food out there. There's amazing food, and just people being kind to the restaurant workers, the bartenders, the servers, the food runners, the cashiers, all that stuff.
I mean, like, there's restaurants that we've been to more than once, not necessarily in Midland, where, like, it was just not a great experience. The service was awful. Food was good, but, like, we just never wrote a review about it.
I'm still not, my first instinct isn't to go to Yelp or
we'll
Google.
still go there. Like, if a bunch of
what I mean?
friends are going or whatever, like, we'll still go and, like, have fun with our friends, but, like, we just...
I don't know. Yeah, it's just a weird thing that people are so... I mean, that's just in general, right?
I think all those people
like,
have never worked in, like, the service industry, hospitality, like... Yeah.
And anybody that's worked in assisted living or retirement centers as a cook because the crazy thing was, at the end of the night, if you were the chef, you had to go out there and pour coffee while they're serving cake. And while you poured coffee, how was lunch today? How was dinner today? How was it? And I hate it. There's points where I'm like, I'm not going out there, dude. I'm not going out
really
there.
Quietly and hope their hearing aid is
I'm
turned
like,
up.
dude, I made meatloaf today. You know how many versions of meatloaf I'm gonna get ripped apart on? I'm like, I'm not going out. You have to. I'm not going out there. I just say they don't like it because I'm like. They're like, you don't put carrots in it, you don't put this in it, or who's it this, or why'd you put ketchup? It needs more ketchup. It was dry.
It was too much ketchup.
There's sauce on it. It was too watery. You're like, so
1 star Yelp reviews are nothing. You're good.
Yeah, no, I'm good. Yeah,
swipe those right off.
I'm good, man.
Do people still use Yelp?
No, I don't think so. Maybe, I don't know. Is there anything that you wanted to, like, do you have anything coming out that you wanted to promote or anything you want people to know?
Another TV show you're going to be on?
Nothing about TV shows. I usually can't talk about those until
that's true.
It's I get that press release and things like that. But come on, try out a new restaurant in Midland. It's funny because we're not a new restaurant, but this is a new location.
Right.
So we're starting from scratch from everything, and this place has a bar.
Yeah.
And so we're, as you said, new avenue, and that is totally uncharted territory for us. And
craft cocktails, we saw them last night.
And
seasonal.
Changes out seasonally. The beer's on tap.
Tall City beer, too.
Yeah,
well.
Tall City. So the bar manager and the restaurant manager, I was blessed enough to find somebody that has that same kind of passion and attitude towards the burgers, towards cocktails and beer and everything else. So if you saw some of our beer selections a little funky and it's different, and then our craft cocktails, and then she took the same aspect as our sliders, like the Homer Simpson and Hefe and the names, and then we have like the different names of like a Wu-Tang song and Biggie Smalls and everything. And
I do like that.
And integrated that into, there's one called Don't Go Bacon My Heart, and it has bacon and bourbon. And so that kind of same play. And it was really difficult to find somebody kind of in that same wavelength as you to co-create. So when you find somebody like that, it's amazing. And it's cool to see what we have coming up. And we're always coming up with different things. We have that beer coming up with Tall City. We're planning way more pint nights. We're planning events. We're trying to fill out this new space.
Yeah.
So this is brand new for us. So we're trying to like kind of stretch our legs and see what all is available. And she's trying to push it on the whole cocktail and beer side and draw and then mocktails too.
Yeah.
I don't know if you saw it. So
that.
yeah, we have a huge sober
awesome.
society and people are pushing towards that. And then whenever I was talking to Chantel about it, it's like everywhere you go is vodka and soda water, or or topo chico and a lime, and like this isn't a mocktail. This is
This
like
is just water.
This is just water, and so she ordered like some actual mixers that are meant for mocktails.
Oh, great.
Like
Okay.
there's some that have like immunity boosters, some calming relief. So the mocktails are actually crafted like the cocktails in that same process, and then also the sliders. So it's really, really cool to see.
Yeah.
But Midland, give us time, give us patience. We're stretching legs. We're still filling out the new building. It's like a brand new car. You kind of test drive and see how
It's a big space.
Yeah, it went from 80 seats in our Odessa restaurant to 250 of this one.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah, and so it's like we're still filling out what all we can do, what our kitchen can do, what our bar can do, what our customers kind of expect. So we're still, I think we're like 3 months in, and so it's just crazy.
It's a great space. Food's excellent.
Thank you.
We'll definitely be back, and we'll hang out at that bar too. And
I need to try that bacon bourbon.
yeah, we did see that. We had to go to an event, so we couldn't.
There you go.
We couldn't get too many boozy cocktails
Yeah,
beforehand.
we have a pumpkin coffee espresso, martini.
Okay.
So it's like the fall things. And so seasonal, and that's something you really don't see a whole lot with like cocktails, or especially like a quick service burger restaurant.
Right.
You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like you're not expecting to get like a craft cocktail from a burger place, but hey, we got it. We're creating
Yeah.
it.
I like it.
It was awesome. Chef, we really thank you so much for being here today, man. We really love to hear
you.
your story and especially about giving back to the community. I think that's key. But just love to see your passion, man. I love that, and we wish you the best of luck. We wish you so many more expansions in your future, or more restaurants and things like that. And we are always happy to support. And please let us know in the future how we can help with Best of Midland. I mean, always love to get the word out there. So if you haven't been, or if you were there last night, go down to Curbside Bistro in Odessa and in Midland, and pick up some food. Be hungry, hungry,
And
Come
thirsty.
hungry.
and thirsty. Listen, we'll hopefully have you on again sometime.
Awesome, yes.
And
We look forward to it.
Looking forward to your television show eventually that you can't talk about. We're just joking.
We're speaking into
We're just joking.
right there.
But, thanks again, man. I really appreciate it.
Thank you guys so much. Thank you.
All right, we'll see you on the next one. Bye.